Conversation with Ron MacLean.
Welcome to In Conversation. Today on the show, hockey star and Vancouver City police officer Meghan Agosta and hockey star and Canadian Music Hall of Famer, drummer for the Bare Naked Ladies, Tyler Stewart. Let me begin with Meghan. I first got to see her play in 2005 in Salmon Arm, British Columbia. I was there for CBC doing a shoot, and the National Women's Under-18s were taking place. Meghan was playing for Team Ontario Red. She's from the Windsor, Ontario area, playing for the great Stephanie White. Her team was in the gold medal final against Quebec, and Ontario led 2-0 after one, and then in the second, it was all Quebec, until a 17-year-old Agosta got a breakaway and she scored one of the prettiest goals I've ever seen. And that was the stepping stone. From there, it was 4 consecutive Olympics, 3 golds and the silver in Pyeongchang. In fact, if she qualifies for the next Olympics, which is the plan for Meghan, she'll set a record by stepping on the ice for most games. And if she scores 2, she'll set another record. So still ambitious as a hockey player and a wonderful hockey player. Tyler is also a hockey player. He plays for a team called the Jokers, and of course is in the Canadian Music Hall of Fame as drummer for Bare Naked Ladies, who have sold 15 million albums. He loves sports. He loves broadcasting. He took his Ryerson University BA in radio and television, helps us on Hockey Night in Canada and the NHL awards, but he is a joker. And Meghan is a police officer, and their worlds may collide here because in 2010, after the Vancouver victory by the women, as pro athletes would, they had a little party, and the party spilled over into the arena, and there were cigars like Michael Jordan would enjoy and beers flowing, and there's some speculation that Tyler Stewart is involved in the party that great day in Vancouver. Does he look guilty to you? We're about to find out.
Meghan, one of Canada's all-time greats, one of the world's best hockey players.
Now, Wakefield over to Agosta. She shoots. She scores.
Meghan Agosta does what she does best.
Now, a play call alone is Agosta. Oh, my goodness. What a goal.
We love playing live. That's our calling card.
14 million albums sold, almost 3 decades together. Please welcome Bare Naked Ladies!
It is an honor to induct these guys into the Canadian Music Hall of Fame. 30 years and still going strong, Bare Naked Ladies.
Okay, we're in for a treat here, Meghan and Tyler. Before I get to anything, Meghan, my love to you and the force, the Vancouver City Police, like all first responders. I know it's been quite 8 weeks. We'll get into that a little bit later on. But you two know each other. I'll let Tyler start. How do you know Meghan Agosta, Tyler?
Well, I know Meghan Agosta because, first of all, I'm a huge fan of the National Women's Hockey Team. Always admired those ladies. And I was involved in a golf tournament called the Good as Gold tournament, which raised money for the families of the national women's team. We all know that those gals get out there and do nothing but win freaking gold medals, and they get very little pay, if none. And all they do is represent our country amazingly and dedicate their lives to the sport. And so I thought, what can I do to help them out a little bit? And raising some money through this golf tournament, organizing the entertainment, helping out the families, meeting all the gals and their families. That was probably the highlight for me.
And talk about synchronicity, Meghan. You just told a story off air here about listening to BNL in the car the other day. So tell the viewer about that.
Yeah, so we were driving and, my fiance looked at me and then the boys. I know Chance was in the back as well. And it was a longer drive. And he goes, okay, boys, I'm going to put on a song and you have to, memorize the lyrics of you have to, it was If I Had $1 Million, what they would do with it. And so the boys were at the back and they're working together and, okay, if I had $1 million, whatever the song was. And they came up with 10 different things and they worked together. And it's kind of surreal how now I'm sitting in front of this computer and having an interview with you, Ron, and Tyler as well.
I think, Meghan, the great serendipity is you're a police officer, and I am about to ask Tyler a question. And Tyler, Meghan said, anything you say can and will be used against you. And you do have the right to call a lawyer. Yeah. But the word has it, the great party, the cause celeb, the pseudo cause celeb after the 2010 Olympics when the pro athlete women partied into the arena, you somehow are culpable. Is there a story behind Tyler Stewart's involvement in the party that day in Vancouver?
Well, I wasn't involved in the party afterwards in the arena, but I loved that they skated around and smoked cigars and had a couple beers in the rink after they won it all. But afterwards, when Hockey Canada House shut down for some reason and kicked all the girls and their families out of there, I led a parade down the street to a bar and we kept celebrating in Vancouver. Now, I did that because they were shutting it down, and Haley Wickenheiser literally grabbed me by my lapels and said, "Where are we going, Tyler?" And I said, got on the phone. We've been hanging out at this bar just down the street from the GM place there. And they stayed open. And I said, listen, all gold medalists and the people who love them follow me. And we went down the street and we hung out to the bar till probably 4 or 5 in the morning. And the guy got fired the next day who kept the bar open for us.
It wasn't the Roxy, was it?
It wasn't the Roxy.
Okay,
no.
good.
Although that's good times.
Oh man, that's such a special memory, that whole Vancouver, whether it's John Montgomery or any party. Scott Moyer over at Pyeongchang, same thing, right? Celebrating the women's game, which was dynamite. Meghan, one serious note then, the Vancouver scene for you as a police officer and a parent, what's it been like the last couple of months?
You know what, this pandemic has really brought first responders and frontline healthcare workers closer. From our frontline officers to our invest, civilian members, support staff, we've really become an even, stronger VP family. And, I'm truly inspired to be a part of, we have 7 p.m. rallies, and how people go outside and, they bang on their pots and pans or, whatever they do as a family. For us first responders, we drive around the hospitals with lights and sirens, and, local hospitals like St. Paul's, VGH Children's, where we live here, Peace Arch, Surrey Memorial. And it's just amazing work by everyone. And I'll never forget it. It was the first time, being a part of that rally, and, we were driving lights and sirens, and we came around the corner of one of the, corners of the hospital, and all the nurses and doctors were kind of, standing out there. And as we drove by with our lights and sirens, you could see tears in their eyes. And for me, it really touched me. And I really felt honored to be, a police officer in that specific moment, but just really knowing that career choice that I chose of being a first responder is definitely the right one for me. And, every night, if we're not busy, we make sure, we go and we rally around the hospitals, and hats off to every single one of, the nurses and the doctors that, put their life on the line and, make sure that, everybody is as safe as they can be.
Do you want in on that, Tyler? If you want, you can also add the great selfie cam concerts you're doing just to help our spirits during this time.
Yeah, well, Meg, I'm so proud of you because, I met you, 15, 16 years ago. I went to your first wedding,
Yes.
Things like that. Brought my daughters. You loved my daughters. My daughters love you. We used to have such great times together. So I'm really, as a dad myself, proud of you for everything you've accomplished. And
thank you.
You're still playing at the top of the game. Amazing. We're doing selfie cam jams. That's what I do at home, Meghan. I go into the back and set up my iPhone camera on my drum kit, and I play and sing our songs, and we send them off to our pal Edward Pond, and he puts them all together as a single performance. So we've been able to kind of play together as a band virtually, like everyone's doing virtually. And, that's been a great way to stay sane during this whole stay at home and eat and drink too much period.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Christmas, I think, but
we were fessing up to Meghan before the show. It's not easy to get through 5 o'clock any day. Hey, let's talk some hockey. Tyler, I said, could name the third line center on all 31 teams. He's right in his wheelhouse here when we talk hockey. But you first, Canada at the 2005 World. So you've won the under 18s. I explained in the preamble in Salmon Arm. Meantime, Canada plays USA for the World Championship, and we don't score a goal in 60 minutes, and we don't score a goal in 20 minutes of overtime, and we lose in a shootout. And I think that's why Melody Davidson said, we need Meghan Agosta, even though she's 18 years old. We need her in Italy. What do you remember about December 21st, getting the call, you're on the team, and knowing you're going to go to your father's homeland, Italy?
Ever since I was 6 years old, it's always been my dream to represent Canada and go to an Olympic Games. And, with a lot of sacrifice, not only from myself, but my parents as well. Even to be a part of that 2005 team, as you previously mentioned, like I literally I practiced with the team, but I never played. And I was just, honored to be a part of the team, to be able to practice every single day with all my childhood heroes, and having that opportunity to get better every day was amazing. And, when I got the call to be centralized, I remember I had tears in my eyes, and it was just one, step closer. And, being so young, I was only 18, like you said, and the oldest was Danielle Goyette. She was 40. And I remember, heading into centralization and being the youngest, and I totally was homesick. I was out of my element. I was more watching than actually performing. And, Mel pulled me aside and she said, Megan, listen, like, we brought you here for a reason, and you need to believe in yourself and in your abilities, and you need to start putting the puck in the net and putting points up, because, that's why you're here. And if you don't start performing, we're going to have to release you. And at that moment, I went home that night and I'm like, what am I doing? Like, I don't want to leave here with any regrets. And now, leading into that final meeting, I remember Mel called an emergency meeting. She goes, okay, we're choosing the team today. We're going oldest to youngest. And I'm like, oh, great. So I had to sit there in the dressing room. I'll never forget it. It was at Father David Bauer, and I was sitting in the dressing room, and, one at a time, the girls would go. And finally it was my turn. And I walked up the set of stairs and I went into the room, and there was a table, and you had the three coaches on the one side, and then I sat on the other side. And I knew before I went in there that I gave everything I could, and I would, leave there with no regrets, whether I made the team or not. And I was just proud of, how, the year played out. And I sat down, and Mel looked at me and she said, you know what, Megs, congratulations. You're one of 21 girls to go to the Torino Olympics. And, I had tears running down my cheeks, and I just said, thank you so much. This is a dream come true. And I just couldn't wait to go call my family and, tell them the amazing news. And it's pretty amazing, with my dad being born and, raised till he was 6 years old in Italy, to have my first Olympics in Italy. And I'll never forget it, standing on that goal line, getting the medal draped around my neck and looking up in the stands and seeing my whole family there. That was definitely a moment that I'll never forget. And, they were, a part of this amazing journey, from the moment I started playing at 6 years old till that moment, and those are memories that will last a lifetime.
And Tyler, they won the gold medal, Team Canada, there in Torino. And on her 19th birthday during those Olympics, she scored a hat trick against Russia. Just incredible. So when you go into the Canadian Music Hall of Fame a couple of years ago, Tyler, you spoke first. You're a leader. There's no doubt on that Bare Naked Ladies cast or team. And you spoke about Bob and Sandy. So just to hear that story Megan just told, you went right to the heart of your own family and then mom and dad. What's your made it moment like? What was it for you?
Well, I know that just to go back a bit, I know that about Meg scoring a hat trick on her birthday and getting the gold medal, because I was there. I went to Italy. That's how into it I was. I was really, really behind these gals. Anyway,
well, myself. Just to interrupt for a second, remember the final for the men was Sweden, Finland, and the whole rink was Canada. There wasn't I know. There was a Swede or a Finn in the audience. So anyway,
and it was also the first time I'd ever heard the Swedish national anthem, and to see guys like Matt Sundin and Peter Forsberg and Nick Lidstrom singing at an anthem I didn't even know at the top of the lungs, I realized, oh yeah, there's other countries in the world with anthems. It was hilarious. Anyway, for me, yeah. I think you always ask yourself, what is success? It could be the first time you ever play a gig and people show up, or the first time you record a song and then hear it on the radio. But, there were Monday nights in Toronto where we played the Ultrasound Show Bar. It's now closed. It's now a hair salon. And over the course of a month in 1990, when I first joined the band, we saw our audience grow from like 5 to 10 to 100 to sold out and lined up down the street. And I thought, this is a weekly thing. You saw it happening. Mm-hmm. And it's rare in your career to actually feel progress, because you're often working so hard. You're putting everything you have into it, that you sometimes don't notice that, wow, you're actually getting a following, or, hey, this is getting good. So I think for me, it was having people lined up outside of a small club where I went, wow, this is viable. I think we can do this, and we should do it, because A, it's a lot of fun, and B, people like it.
You and I both studied media. I used to listen every evening to Vancouver radio, Megan. I lived in Red Deer, Alberta, but the radio came in from Vancouver at nighttime. I'd listen to CFUN and CKLG and the Hot 100. And that's a big thing. So one week in 1998, October 17th, Bare Naked Ladies tops the American chart. That is just so big, it's almost unfathomable. That has to be a moment for you, Tyler.
Well, it was also sweeter, Ron, because at that point, 1998, we're 8 years into a career. And, in Canada, our star had faded a little bit. And this was our fourth album that we put out. And we toured relentlessly in the United States. We were known for our live shows, still are. And the following was growing. So to have that validated, when Stunt came out right away, it debuted, I think, at number 8 and it went on to sell 4 million copies in the US. But to have a number 1 single on the Billboard charts for 1 week, mind you, was amazing. And I still, I have the plaque on my wall. I'm still very proud of that.
One of my heroes in music, Jerry Rafferty, sat at number 2 for 7 weeks with Baker Street, Shadow Dancing by Andy Gibb. In fact, there were rumors that the record company jumped in at the last minute and bought their way out of Jerry Rafferty climbing to number 1. Meghan, for you, 4 Olympic Games, and I'm sure you're asked this all the time. It's never easy to compare gold medal experiences or even that incredible silver in Pyeongchang. But what I take from you being the baby in 06 and Marie-Philippe Poulin being the baby in 2010, as Cassie Campbell-Pascal said the other day, now Mitch Marner, Austin Matthews, they ask about Meghan Agosta, like they expect women to be as good as men. And you played in the elite 3-on-3, and the men just loved it at the All-Star in St. Louis. Must just grind you to figure what can we do to get the women's pro game untracked.
Yeah, I think we've made, huge steps in the right direction, and I think it's still going to take time. I think with this pandemic, it's kind of set us back just a little bit, but, in hindsight, there's no doubt in my mind, as an Olympic athlete, with the knowledge and experience that I have, for me, it's not about, the funding in my career, but, if we could leave that legacy for the, younger, little girls who dream to be, our positions one day, that's what it's all about. Like little girls like my daughter Chance. And, we're going to do everything we can to get hockey to where it should be and where, you don't need to do what I'm kind of doing where, you're juggling, your career with, playing the game that you love and still wanting to represent your country. So I think, just one day at a time, and it's going to take time. And, I think we're going in the right direction and going just to the All-Star game and, having Bettman speak to us, he has, things in place for the women's game. And he just doesn't want to kind of go at it, just all at once. He wants to make sure that he does it and he does it right. And it lasts, forever, the men's side.
Go on, Tyler, because you've been Ladies First Foundation. You've done so much for the women's game.
I can't wait to see it, Meg. I really need to have professional women's hockey in my lifetime. And all of my friends in the game are so good at advocating for it. And we're at a point now where people like Meghan and Jana Hefford and Haley and Jennifer Botterill, who all played the game, and Cassie as well, a big name there, are involved in growing and promoting and coaching and developing the game. We need all of those women with gold medals dangling around their necks to be in charge because they put all of the groundwork in. And now you mentioned Gary Bettman. I know he has a spot for women's hockey on his agenda, and I hope that he follows through. I know Gary's a Bare Naked Ladies fan, so remember, Tyler says, Gary, that you have to make this happen.
I didn't quite finish giving you an opportunity to pick from the 4 Olympics the story that you like to tell, the one that's most important to your heart.
You know what I mean? Like you said, they're all different and, different teams, different experiences. It's pretty tough to choose. 06, to be able to win gold on, my dad's home country was, pretty surreal. Vancouver 2010, if I have to be honest, nothing will ever compare to Vancouver. It was, the city was electric, and it's kind of crazy to think back. Like, I drive in the Olympic Village every single time I work, and I look at our building, I look at, the rink, BC Place, and I'm just like, oh my God, I can't even believe it. And it just brings back memories every single time. And, nothing will ever beat Vancouver to win on home soil. We had everything kind of against us. And, when we went out there, we knew we had the better team, and it was just about performing, and we ended up doing that. And I think it showed who the better team was. And, then you look at 2014, like, holy cow, were the hockey gods ever on our side? I remember looking up at the clock and being like, oh my God, 5 minutes left. Like, we just need one to get them on their heels. And that's what we did. And then to get that other one and for the puck to hit the post, like everything just was aligning for Canada to win. And then the biggest defeat was 2018, of course, going into shootout. I mean, when it comes to a shootout, anything could kind of happen and it becomes more individual. And, but, you know, I remember after 2018 walking into the dressing room and you could hear like a pin drop. And I just looked at all the girls and I said, we need to walk out of this dressing room and with our heads held high, and we need to be very proud of ourselves and how we performed. And, you know, as tough as it may be, you know, people would love to go to an Olympic Games, number one, but, you know, come back to their home countries with a medal around their neck. And it tells a story. And it, you know, yeah, I have 3 gold medals and I have 1 silver medal, but for me, you know, it's not about the gold or silver medals that I've won. It's about trying to inspire the younger generation to do something special in their lives. And if I could do that, then my job is done. And, you know, I have a hockey school every summer, and I hope that this summer, you know, I could continue with it with, you know, COVID and all that kind of stuff. But for me, it's about giving back and inspiring, you know, these younger girls. And, you know, for sure, my number one is 2010, and I don't think anything will ever kind of come close to that. I think the next closest was probably the All-Star game, to be honest with you. Just to be a part of that in the NHL and going there and being with the best of the best was definitely a memory that will, you know, stick with me for the rest of my life.
So many viewers on Instagram and Twitter would like to ask you a question. So I'll go with you, Tyler. Between 1 and 4, give me a number and I'll ask you a question here.
3.
Number 3 is...
I should wait. 2.
Okay.
Meghan Agosta. 2.
Okay.
Oh, aren't you clever? Yeah. So let me back up. And it says, this is C. Wakeland on Instagram asks, what's your favorite lyric of all time? That's a draw.
Is that a Bare Naked Ladies lyric or just lyric?
Could be either. I think.
Well, I mean, there's
mine is The Last Resort, Call Someplace Paradise, Kiss Goodbye, Eagles. So
that's a good one.
Fine.
I think Mr. Coburn's lyric, you got to kick at the darkness till it bleeds daylight, is a heck of a line because, you know, especially during these times, right?
Brilliant.
So yeah, I give it to Bruce Coburn.
Megan, for you, from 1 to 4, would you want to go with 2, or do you?
I'll go with 4.
Okay, 4 it is, and that would be M_Salas on Instagram asks, if you were to pull over, you being a police officer, if you were to pull over a former teammate for skating too fast, who would it be? It's good.
Oh man, that's a good question. You know what? I would say like the most, like on our recent team right now, I'd probably say Rebecca Johnson. I'd pull her over and say, hey, slow it down a bit. You know, you're going way too fast. She's such a fast skater, smooth skater, and, you know, unbelievable hockey player. So I'd have to say Rebecca Johnson.
Okay. Let me say, yeah. Who's yours, Tyler? Your fastest?
Well, I on the Jokers, who's the fastest skater?
Oh, no, but who's Johnny?
Oh, Johnny. Rebecca Johnson's nickname is Johnny.
Yeah, of course. So here's your hockey card, the Jokers. And
my goodness.
Megan, these aren't these super? Left-hand shot. He's known for his wrist shot and for being a Hall of Fame drummer in the Bare Naked Ladies. The band has sold 15 million albums, and 15 million is also the projected number of penalty minutes that Tyler will have accumulated before he retires. Is that true?
I'm a little bit better at that now. I used to make up for my lack of speed with perhaps some crafty handed stick work, not involving the puck. I've cleaned up my act, though. Less penalty minutes now.
And are you coaching still too, Tyler?
I'm not coaching anymore because none of my daughters play hockey anymore.
Okay.
My youngest daughter, 9-year-old Carmen, plays basketball, which is awesome, right? I mean, the Raptors inspired a whole generation, and she certainly is part of that, you know, basketball revolution happening. The most hockey joy I had with my kids is 2 years ago. My oldest daughter, Millie, who knows Megan, she was playing intramural hockey at Wilfrid Laurier University, and her team was in the final, and I drove down to Kitchener just to watch her play at her intramural final. And a couple of her buddies on that team I had coached when they were younger as well. I was just as into it then as I was, you know, 5 years before coaching them. So there it is. I'm still a sucker for a good hockey game.
And all the women on the national program, it's like Megan Mickelson too. When you have Chance and you're raising Chance and a police officer and an elite hockey player, it's incredible. Tell the viewer about your daughter, Chance.
So Chance is now 1.5 years old, and she's just my inspiration. Growing up, I've always, wanted to have a family, and she was 6 weeks early, so she was premature. She was only 3 pounds 12 ounces, and she spent 3 weeks in the NICU. And for me, it just made me realize, how resilient she really was as a little one. And for me, like, put all my Olympics and final games and stuff aside, the toughest thing I've ever had to do is leave her at the hospital and go home at night for 3 weeks. And it was tough, but I knew that she was, in great hands, and I can't thank Surrey Memorial NICU and the staff there enough for, doing everything they can to get her, to gaining weight and get her where she needed to be to come home. And, I lived through Chance, and, everything I do kind of like revolves around her. She's so busy. She's, perfectly healthy. She's flying around. She wants to, learn from her big brothers. And, for her first birthday, she got a pair of hockey skates, and I can't wait. I put the skates on her actually the other day, and her ankles are a little bit wobbly because her feet are still so super tiny. But for the most part, I really hope that, she plays this amazing game of hockey and follows me in my footsteps and is better than I've ever been.
Geez, that's inspiring, isn't it, Tyler? So I'll end for you with the Hall of Fame. Obviously, we lost Neil Peart recently. Geddy Lee did the induction for you when you went into the Canadian Music Hall of Fame. And I have a picture here from way back on the Maroon. We were saying this is a few pounds and 20 years ago, but you look thin. The band, they obviously look up to Tyler. You can see the role he plays as captain of the band. And you spoke, and it was just great. So reflect on going in.
Well, the Hall of Fame induction was a career highlight, obviously, to have Geddy, one of our heroes, do it, to be there all together with our families, and everybody was so happy and proud and all dressed up and looking amazing. And hey, man, I had a Gucci ascot on. That's pretty cool. When do you get to wear those? Such a honor, and because it's your peers too who vote you in there, and to have respect amongst your colleagues who all do the same thing, or who have made some incredible music in the past themselves. That was paramount, and total thrill. I still get goosebumps thinking about it.
Well, listen, the two of you, we could talk forever. I just can't say enough about what Bare Naked Ladies has meant to music and to Canada. And Megan, you spoke for yourself on behalf of the force there. To have a police officer on during the time of COVID-19 is our greatest honor. So thank you. Continued success.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Missed you, Gus. Missed you.
I missed you too, Tyler. And thank you so much, Ron. We really appreciate this.
Huge thanks to Megan and Tyler. Solid gold there. Just a reminder, Sunday on Sportsnet, 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 Pacific, we have the Hockey 24 on the air. We are back next week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We'll close, as always, with a song lyric, and it's from Pinch Me by the Bare Naked Ladies. And the lyric is, it's the perfect time of year, somewhere far away from here. I feel fine enough, I guess, considering everything's a mess. Stay strong, stay safe. Thanks for watching. So long.